Hello everyone, it's Carrie at Inky Bee Journals and Ephemera. Welcome back to my channel. And if you are visiting my channel for the first time, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. So today I thought we would make a start on a new journal. And I'm calling this one the Shabby Pink Roses Journal. Last week I showed you a run through of the digital designs that I will be using within this journal. But today we're going to work on how I made this journal cover. Now I have made this ahead of time obviously, but the reason I have done that is because I haven't really got my camera set up to be able to change the angle that I'm showing you what I'm doing. So I won't be able to show you how I'm using the sewing machine because I have used the sewing machine for this. However, I will walk you through what I've done with the steps. And for those of you who don't use a sewing machine or don't want to use a sewing machine, that's absolutely fine because there is other alternatives for putting this together. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is a fabric cover, and this will be a way of trash busting. So we are using a base of cereal box weight box. So I am just using biscuit boxes. You can use cereal boxes or any type of cereal weight food box. And I will show you how I go from this to having it more like this, which is our ready-made book cover, or well, book cover base. So I'll show you how we get to this point and then how we get to this point. So if you have your box and you aren't sure how to prepare these, so I'll just give you an idea. Obviously we have the top open when we take out our biscuits or what have you, and then we can open the bottom, and we do that much the same way as we open the top. So we try to grab it underneath and we try to open it. Sometimes they're a little bit harder. Some boxes are a bit harder than others, but you just open it at the bottom, and it doesn't want to behave, but we'll get there. Because we don't need these flaps, doesn't matter if they break. So we have it to this point. Now, what I will show you is on the inside. So on our box, we have two narrow sides. Now, one of these sides will become our spine, which is this area here. And as you can see when I open this up, there is no extra glue flap area in here. And this is one complete piece instead of three individual pieces. So how we get it to that point is we need to have a look on the inside of the box. Now, it's going to be a little bit hard for me to show you this on the camera, so I have done this roughly, and I do hope you can understand this. If you look on one side, you will see that it just looks completely plain like this. It's one complete panel, just like I showed you here, where there's nothing else on the inside there. But if you look inside your box, and you can see another little bit here, which is what this is indicating, this is the glue flap that holds your box together. And what we need to do is we need to take this entire panel out of the box, and there is a couple of ways we can open the box up to get rid of that. One way is we can use our scissors and cut straight up the middle, straight up here, and we can do it that way with a pair of scissors or anything really, a craft knife if that's what you have. but do be careful with it. The other way is if you can see where your glue flap is, and I know that my glue flap is right here. So I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but there's the glue flap right there. So what we can do is we can put our fingers between the glue flap and the outer piece. And if it's going to let me do it. And we can run our finger all the way along, and that opens it up. So the next thing we need to do is remove some of these excess pieces around here. So we can get rid of, I'll do it with one of these, it'll be a bit easier to see. We can get rid of all of these outer pieces, all these tabs that we have, including this glue flap and all of these. So we cut all of those off. Now when you're cutting them off, I will bring this up and hopefully you can see. Can you see a ridge along here where you have that fold line? And that bridge is your guide for where you cut these panels off. And the reason I say that is it creates a very smooth edge when you cut them off. See how there's no ridge on this edge now? And that just gives you a nice clean piece. So how you do that, or one way in which you can do it, is you can get yourself a ruler and a craft knife of sorts, or you can use a pair of scissors if you like, but you cut on the, and I'll just do it with the pen to show you. So you will cut right along the left-hand side of this ridge, or the right-hand side, depending on whether you are left or right-handed. But you want to cut on the side of the ridge that gives you the 3 panels in the middle. But cut this little ridge completely off. So I will quickly do that with you so that you can see how we do it and how easy it is. So we put the ruler edge right up to the edge of that ridge, and we just cut that off. Now you might need a couple of passes to do this, and the sharper your blade the easier it is, and then we can take that entire piece off. Then we can turn it, and we can do the same with all of these. And we can just use our knife, making sure that we are putting pressure down on our ruler, and use the tip of your craft knife on a slight angle and just go steadily. Now you don't have to put a whole lot of pressure, a little bit of pressure, but not a whole lot of pressure, because your sharp knife should be able to do most of the work for you. And as I said, you may need to do a couple of passes to completely loosen all of these pieces. Then we can turn it and we can take the next piece off, making sure that we're cutting on the inside of that ridge to remove the ridge and the tab. Okay, so you can discard all of these pieces unless you want to use them for something else. I'm just going to put these in my recycle bin. And we can put that aside. And that. And so there we have our prepared piece of cardstock, our ready-made little booklet. Well, booklet base, but journal base. So that's how we get from a normal box to a book cover base in whatever size you are using. It doesn't really matter whether it's large, small. It can be smaller than this. I've done them as small as like little matchboxes, and I've done them in large cereal box size as well. So once we have it to that point, the next thing we do is, the next thing I have done is I have covered both sides of it with some batting. Now, batting might be familiar to those of you who do sewing with a machine or anything else for that matter, maybe quilting or something like that. And it is basically like a cotton type thing. You can get an acrylic one, I think, too. I have two different colours on here simply because I had some from a charity shop and some was bought more recently. But it doesn't matter what colour it is. All I have done is used glue all over the base of the cardstock, and then I have laid this over the top of that glue and smoothed it out. You need to cut your piece along the edge, flush along the edge of the box that you're covering, and then let your glue dry just enough to be able to flip it over and do exactly the same thing on the other side. You don't want excess hanging over the edge. See, I've just cut it flush with the edge all the way around. The next thing I've done is I've chosen some material for the outside and some material for the inside. Now, mine is just a bit of quilting fabric, cotton, regular cotton fabric. You can use really anything that you like. But when you're doing this, place down your fabric, and you might find it easier to maybe give it a wash if you need to first and iron it flat so that your overall piece doesn't end up with creases and things in it. But once you've got it, lay it down, put your piece down, and you don't need to glue on top of this anymore because this will actually grab your fabric. And you can put it down, and then you can cut around the edge, leave yourself, and I've just done this really roughly, but leave yourself approximately 3/4 of an inch to an inch border all the way around, and make sure that you are laying your cardboard piece, your padded cardboard piece, on your fabric on the wrong side of your fabric. So if you have a quick look at this fabric, you will see it's much brighter on one side and it's much more dull on the other side. And this is the underside of the fabric, and that is the side you want facing up to you when you place your cardboard piece down. Then you need to get a second piece and cut it the same, and you can either use the same pattern that you're using on the outside, or you can use a different pattern or colour like I'm doing, just a plain colour on the inside. And you want to do the same thing, place that down, but you want to place it down so that the right side of your fabric is facing up, not facing down, so that you've got the two wrong sides of your fabric when you bind them together will be together, and your two right sides will be the ones that you see in your finished piece. I hope that makes sense to you. Now, the next thing I did, excuse me. The next thing I did is I took it to my sewing machine, and I have just done a decorative stitch all around the outside, and I've done this just outside the edge of where this cardstock piece is. So I've done it about, or I'd say about an eighth of an inch out from there. You don't want to go through your actual cardboard piece. You don't want to run the risk of breaking the needle in your sewing machine. And if you are slow stitching or hand stitching, you might find that pretty hard on your hands too. So you really just need to go through the two pieces of material. Excuse me, I still have a cough from when I was unwell, so I'll try not to cough too much. So you can do a decorative stitch, which is what I've done. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. I know my stitching is not perfect, but that's okay. You can do a straight stitch. I've done a decorative stitch, and you can see on the inside it's a different colour. I did choose later on to put a pocket on the front and the back, and I just put a piece all the way across and then hand stitched it in. It's not perfect stitching, but it will work. So I have a pocket here and I have a pocket here. You don't have to put pockets in yours. That's completely up to you. Once you've done your stitching, you can go along with a pair of fabric scissors. Now you can use pinking shears, which are those scissors with the zigzag edge. I have also got a pair that has a scallop edge, and so I've used the scallop edge along mine, and I've cut about an eighth of an inch out from where my stitch line is, so you're not cutting through your stitches, and that will just ensure that your piece stays together, doesn't come apart. It may eventually fray along here. A lot of materials will do that, but you know, it's not going to be necessarily a forever thing. Once you've done that, I've just stuck on one of these metal book plates. Now, I ordered these online. I will put a link to these in the description box below if you are interested, and I will put a link for the brads that I have used if I can find those. I've actually used mini brads. So if you are in Australia and you're not sure what they are these little, in Australia we know these as paper fasteners, split pins, and these are the mini size ones. And I don't know if you can get those in your local stationery supplies store, but here in my town we can't. We can only get the regular size ones, so I had to get these online, but I got a box set of different sizes and colours, so I will link that in the description box below if you are interested. Now what I've actually done is I've put these little brads. You could put them through like that if you want to, but then you would have to poke holes through here and you would see these little split pieces when they're open. So what I've actually done is I've used my scissors and I have actually cut these tiny little feet off as close as I could manage to get them. And then I have used a little bit of E6000 glue, and I've actually just glued them onto the spot where you would normally poke them through a hole, but I've just glued them down. So that's all I've done. Now what I have done here is, this is just a little bit of coloured paper, and I have just written the word journal there, and then I've glued it to the back side of this metal piece, and then I have glued with a strong glue. Now I actually used a fabric glue because it will stick the metal to the fabric, and I have glued the whole thing down. So that's how I've done this, and I hope that makes sense to you. Now, as I said, I will put a link in the description box below for these little metal book plates. I will put a link for these mini brads, or try and find the variety pack size and colours that I got myself. So I will put a link for those as well. Now, for those of you who don't use a sewing machine, if you can slow stitch or hand stitch, you can absolutely do that in place of using a sewing machine. And if you don't want to do stitching at all, that's okay. What you can do in place of stitching is just use some fabric glue to bind the two pieces of fabric together. Give it ample time to adequately dry, so that when you go along with your scissors later on to do this deckled edge, you will not gum up your scissors so quickly, because nobody likes gummy scissors, right? So that's how I have basically made this. It's a good way of reusing some food boxes, cereal boxes and things like that, and pretty them up and make use of them. So in the next video, we will start looking at putting these signatures in, or at least getting the signatures sorted out. I don't think we'll be stitching them in straight away, because I will be adding some things to the signature before I stitch them in. So signatures, because I will have 4 signatures in here. And over the coming weeks, we will do signatures, we will do some ephemera pieces, we will be decorating the pages with embellishments and ephemera pieces, and we will put a closure of sorts on here. So that is what I thought I might use this bit of pink and gold for, this ribbon. You can use a bit of lace or something else if you like, but this is what I've had available, so I'll use that. So if you think you might be interested in following along how I go about making this journal from here on in, you are more than welcome to follow along and see how we go. If you don't want to put a padding underneath your fabric, you don't have to, but you might find by doing that it will cover up some of the advertisement on the box, the food box that you're using. You could also cover up that advertising with a little bit of white acrylic paint or gesso, just to tone it down so that when you have your fabric on there, it may not show through your fabric. But I have used the batting because I like that little bit of a cushioning effect, but it's not something that you absolutely have to do. So I hope you were able to understand all of that. I'm sorry I couldn't show you this, making this on camera as such, because my sewing machine is old, it's cranky, and I would probably be swearing at it, which I know I can't do on camera, and it's loud, and I can't change my camera angle to show you what I'm doing. So that's why I thought I'd just try and walk you through it. All right, so I will leave the video there for now. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.